Welcome to a realm of horror and mystery, where hearts race and the night conceals its darkest secrets. On this channel, we'll open doors to a kingdom of terrors and the supernatural, where reality collides with imagination. Join us as we wander through the corridors of nightmares and forgotten myths, unveiling hidden secrets and exploring eerie, chilling events that send shivers down your spine. We'll venture into abandoned places and dark forests and delve deep into the untold stories of horror. So, brace yourself and summon your courage for an unforgettable adventure. Subscribe now and don't miss the chance to be part of the world of horror on this channel. Let's together discover what lurks in the shadows of the night. In my youth, I was insanely fond of horror stories, and I longed to hear their terrifying plots and the way they were narrated. I was even the one who asked most of the questions. What did it look like? How did it make you feel? What was your state of mind? I couldn't get enough. As I grew older, my curiosity grew with me. During a desert camping trip with my brother and a colleague from work, we found ourselves gathered around a campfire. Our conversation started out as mundane, but it took a different turn, focusing on the scariest encounters we'd ever had or heard about. In that session, enveloped by darkness, my brother began to speak. He said, "I heard from a friend a strange story that you might not believe, but I trust him. A cursed gift." My brother spoke on his friend's behalf. I was traveling in my car to one of the Gulf countries with two of my friends, and the trip was going very well. On the last day before returning, we passed by one of the markets. In the midst of the crowd, we happened to stop at a vendor's stall. His approach didn't sit well with me. He grabbed my hand forcefully and screamed that his merchandise was worth buying. I refused to make a purchase. When he couldn't sway me, he turned to my friend, grabbing him by the shoulder and swearing vehemently that his merchandise was worth buying. I approached him and said, "A piece of advice from a brother. Be polite with your customers." Since my words didn't please him, he stood there for a moment and then started rummaging through his belongings, pulling out a wooden stick. In my mind, I thought he was about to strike me. However, he advanced towards me, extending the stick and said, "This stick is a gift for you, and thank you for the advice." I took it, blaming myself for what I had said, and at the end of the day, as the sun was setting and we were heading back home, I sat in the back seat next to the luggage, gazing out the window. Suddenly, I saw a black smoke-like figure following us, and I rubbed my eyes to make sure I wasn't seeing things. The smoke had a vaguely humanoid shape with two eyes. I became even more certain when it reached out its hand and touched the car window next to me. I panicked and began screaming to my friends, trying to describe what I was seeing. They both looked at me directly but couldn't see anything. They suggested we pull over to the side of the road, but I insisted we keep going, fearing that stopping might make things worse. Without further ado, my friend started rummaging through the luggage, and the other continued driving, asking, "What are you doing?" My friend pulled out the wooden stick given to me by the vendor and opened the window, throwing it onto the road, and asked, "Do you see anything now?" I was astounded and replied, "No, it's gone." I turned to my brother's friend and asked, "Do you believe him?" He looked at me and said, "Certainly. The story happened to me personally, so I believe anything strange." The Dark Alley. Listen to this story. It happened about 13 years ago when I was a student, enjoying my vacation. We had just finished a long and exciting football match that ended in our victory over the opposing team. These matches that took place in residential neighborhoods among the youth were always full of energy. But on that day, in the middle of the night, after I finished playing football, I decided to take the shortcut. I had been late for a while, and I expected a severe scolding from my father. I also anticipated that he might cut my monthly allowance. So I sprinted down the road until I reached that dark, narrow alley. Gathering my strength, I took wide steps through it, which was filled with scattered stones. But as I tripped on one of the rocks and fell to the ground, something strange happened. I felt a heavy presence on my back, as if something or someone was sitting on me, pressing their hand against my left cheek to cover my eyes. I felt an intense suffocation, and the weight on my back was increasing, almost as if it was about to break my spine. In a choking voice, I managed to utter, "Bismillah," and that thing was lifted off me. I got up in pain, leaning against the wall, trying to hold myself together, feeling intense nausea. When I finally reached home, I collapsed at the doorstep. I woke up the next day in a hospital, with my father and mother standing there, looking at me, seeking an explanation for what had happened. I looked at them and said, "Give me the car keys. I won't sleep outside tonight. I'd rather sleep in the car." That night, with the growing weight of fear, we all returned home and couldn't continue our night as originally planned.